Hey guys, Sylvar here, making a video type that I've never really made, and it's kind of a response video slash, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's basically breaking down a video that Alexensual recently released titled WoW Classic 2004 Veteran and No Longer Optimistic. This video was released almost 2 weeks ago, and when I saw the video, I was kind of surprised, or the title of it, I was kind of surprised, and I was like, oh, did I miss like an announcement or something really important from Blizzard saying, oh, we're adding, updated graphics, or we're adding a cash shop so you can buy in-game WoW tokens and make your gold that way if you want with real money, kind of like how it is in retail WoW right now. But after doing some quick searches on like the WoW Classic subreddit and just like looking around in other places, I didn't see any official announcements or anything from Blizzard, so I was kind of caught off guard by that. I was expecting there to be some like bombshell kind of thing, and I was like, okay, I'll give this video a watch. I had it queued up and everything, and was watching some other videos, knocking those out, and so the whole video actually kind of just caught me by surprise, I guess. It felt like it was kind of out of nowhere, and a lot of the points made in the video were basically a lot of the points that have been rehashed lately over the last few months since WoW Classic was announced at BlizzCon. And honestly, Alex's video kind of confused me and kind of left me wondering where all his passion, I guess, and basically not being optimistic anymore came from. Real quick, for those of you who don't know who Alexensual is, he's a YouTuber, streamer. He's streamed on a variety of different platforms, but he basically became popular through his vanilla content, vanilla videos and such. He was a huge factor in promoting and basically backing Nostalrius, and basically helping lead the charge on getting Blizzard to create official classic servers for the game, and he's super passionate about it and loves it. And he often incites relatively negative responses from people. Most videos, I guess, would ratio 80% like, 20% dislike on basically every single video. He brings in a lot. And as you can see here, this video actually had a pretty relatively negative response overall, with some of the comments below, people saying he's paranoid and stuff and freaking out over nothing, and people are like, what happened and stuff. But there's also other people who are backing him saying, if any microtransactions are added, I'm out. All kinds of things like that. But definitely check out the video if you haven't yet, just to get an idea of what we're going to be talking about here in this video. So my goal for this video is to break down his video and kind of dissect the points that he made and see where there are valid issues to be concerned about, and basically also see what points I think have no validity to it and why he's just creating, I guess, drama or an issue where there really isn't one currently, in my opinion. Again, this is an opinion piece, so you may not agree with everything I say. Like, I don't fully agree with everything that Alex said, but I think there are some points that he made that are valid and that we should, consider and be concerned about. So first things first that he did in his video, which I thought was a really good move on his part, was he made two clear points at the beginning of the video.
I don't have any insider knowledge about Classic WoW. I've had a few known streamers or private server developers talk to me about it that claim to have information regarding the release schedule, but I don't really want to feed into that much personally, as it's mostly gossip, I think, so I don't have any insider knowledge here. Number 2, just because I'm no longer optimistic about it doesn't mean you can't be. And I just want to repeat that one more time. I'm not optimistic about it. You can do whatever you want. I'm not telling you in this video how to think or what decision you have.
So after he made those two preface points, he went ahead and started to break down in a little bit more detail, point by point, why he is no longer optimistic about Classic WoW. So in his first point, he talks about the past history of the WoW community's reaction to wanting a vanilla WoW version, and really Blizzard's perspective on vanilla WoW. As we've seen in the past, they've said statements like, oh, you think you want it but you don't, you remember all those bugs that caused you frustration, or having to find a group in trade chat, etc. You don't want those things. Well, clearly there was a large community, such as the NOS community, that was pushing for vanilla and really pushing the button on saying, hey, there's this large group of gamers out there that still want that vanilla WoW Classic experience, And Alex talks about how the community used to be a very strong community with Nost, and how things were going great, and then Blizzard shut them down, and the community kind of stayed together. But he feels now that the community has crumbled, in his own words, that the community crumbled to dust, and he believes that the WoW Classic that we will get will basically not end up being what we expect it to be, because mainly that the community is not unified. So there are some valid points to this. When you have a split community, there's still going to be people who are going to be happy at the end of the day and people who aren't going to be happy with whatever outcome you get. So there's the people, I guess, on the forums that are pushing for all kinds of, quality of life changes within the classic WoW landscape, and then there's everyone else basically saying no changes. We don't want any changes at all. That's personally the boat that I'm in. No changes. Give us classic exactly how it was in vanilla, and we don't want cash shops. We don't want any of that. And that's like his biggest concern, and basically most of the community, at least for the last couple of months, is we don't want changes. We don't want any of that stuff that basically diluted the game from what it used to be to what it is now with the current version of retail WoW. And so his first point is basically division in the community. It's making him not optimistic. And I see the points with this, but there's also another point that I think you have to consider is just because there's division within the community that you're personally involved in, such as the private server players, the NOS community, just because there's division within that, that's not necessarily going to affect the product that Blizzard creates. His second point that he makes, and why he's no longer optimistic, is that everywhere you go, on as far as for a community or discussion about WoW Classic, it's being run by retail WoW players, and not the audience that WoW Classic is set for. He basically calls out the WoW Discord, or the Classic Discord and the Classic subreddit, that the moderators and the posters typically on there are just retail players. And I'm sure there is a mix of retail players and vanilla private server players, but I don't understand where you can really deduce this from. There's not like a checkbox that when you sign up onto one of these forum things is I am a retail player only kind of thing, and you post and everyone knows exactly where you're coming from. He's just making assumptions, I guess, because there's even people in his current community of retail players that want changes, and he's just gonna lump them all in and put them under that negative category of being a retail player. And it kind of adds to the division that he was kind of talking about in the first point of dividing the WoW community even further, having this battle continue on between retail and private server players, or classic vanilla, whatever you want to call them at this point. He's basically really concerned that the vanilla WoW and the classic WoW resources at this point are being run by retail players, which somehow makes their opinion or their ability to run these forums invalid. He even calls out the classic cast, which includes Tips Out, Esfand, and Stay Safe, which I think it was unjust, at least as far as his points. He says like, oh, we have these so-called like classic players that are faces of the community and stuff, but yet they're off playing of retail WoW, and it's like, you can play both. I personally am a player that plays both. As you can see, I am here on my character right now in on Lightshope on my 60 mage. I play on Lightshope. I also play on retail. I Mythic Raid, twice a week, and my guild's pushing Mythic content. Like you can play both. They're two different games. I don't understand. Like his opinion is that if you play one, you can't play the other, or you can't have an opinion about the other, which I completely think is invalid, and really shouldn't make you not. I mean, it shouldn't impact your optimism for a game that we haven't had any real information about other than the announcement at BlizzCon. That's my point here, is that just because there's people running these forums about classic WoW and stuff, and even if they're pushing for changes, like that shouldn't impact how optimistic you are about Blizzard's ability to recreate this classic WoW version of the game that you want to play. His third point that I'm not really going to touch on a whole lot, just to try and condense this video a little bit more, he was really worried about other streamers saying they're going to play the game like regardless of the changes kind of thing, and that somehow impacted his optimism towards the game itself, which to me doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You should just really focus on the game and not really so much as what other streamers are going to be doing. That somehow, I guess, it feels hurtful or something to him that other people will play the game even if there are some significant changes. All right, so his fourth point was there have been 0 updates since WoW Classic has been announced, which was about 4 to 5 months ago, back during BlizzCon. And this definitely, this is one of the points that I actually agree with a little bit. This kind of dampens, I guess, the mood around WoW Classic. It definitely does make you feel a little bit less optimistic about what or when WoW Classic is going to be coming. So I completely agree with this point, and I think if he had stuck more to this point throughout his video about the lack of information on Blizzard's side and not so much about rumors or other people's opinions, I guess, on WoW Classic, I think it would have been at least a bit more valid of an argument, in my opinion. And then his fifth point kind of counters, I don't know, I think everything again, by saying he kind of felt very negative basically towards Blizzard communicating with the community about, you know, things like graphic updates or a cash hop. Like, you have to have that conversation to know no one wants that stuff, or the people that want to be playing this game long term don't want that stuff. And Blizzard is, I mean, it's a tough job for them to sift through, you know, forum posts and stuff and figure out who's going to be sticking around to play WoW Classic a bunch, or if they're just going to try it for a couple weeks, put, like, you know, and then go back to retail. So that's the tough job on Blizzard's part. But again, I think these are conversations that have to happen and that they should be happening. Even in some recent interviews, Jay Allen Brack said that they wanted to discuss with the community about certain states of which they feel the game should be in, certain patch progressions or what patch we should start on, etc. Those kind of things need to happen, and those discussions need to happen. I mean, I don't understand how this point would make you less optimistic about the game. I think it would make me more optimistic to know that these discussions are happening, even if some of the points are ones that I don't fully agree with, because most of the times, especially with the points that he's talking about, cash shop, people shoot that down all the time. And if Blizzard's listening and sifting through the right forums and basically finding the information for the customer that they should be targeting for this, which I have faith in them, that they'll be able to figure out what needs to be done with WoW Classic. And at the end of the day, you should still, in my opinion, be at least this point shouldn't affect your optimism towards WoW Classic. All right, the sixth point, I know there's a lot of points, but I'm trying to get through them all. He talks about Blizzard basically is not the same company that it used to be.
Blizzard sold themselves to the devil once they merged with Activision, and now they made over $4.5 billion as a company in microtransaction sales, something no one ever talks about, so I'll repeat it one more time. They made over $4.5 billion as a company in microtransaction sales. $4.5 billion.
Again, he uses this, though, as a point to not be optimistic about WoW Classic. And I can give one perfect example right here, right now. Okay, so here's a perfect point as why you should not be concerned or worried that other Blizzard games have cash shops in them, especially comparing this to WoW Classic. Recently, Blizzard had released a StarCraft remastered, basically taking the old StarCraft games from years and years ago and remastering them with updated graphics. That was the purpose, though, of remastering the game. It wasn't to create a new port for the game and be able to make it more playable. It was to remaster it. So that, I know that would be an argument against, you know, being concerned that WoW Classic will have updated graphics. That was the point of Brood War. But my point here is they basically re-released the game as it was with updated graphics only. The gameplay is still the exact same. There's no cash shop. Everything is the same about how it was then, other than the graphics, which was the intended purpose. With WoW Classic, there is no indication that there will be a cash shop at all, or no indication that they would want to have one. If they do exactly what they did with StarCraft Remastered, there can be a completely new, updated WoW Classic added to your BNet, launcher and everything easily available for everyone to play. That will basically be exactly like StarCraft Remastered. No cash shop, just the gameplay itself. Okay, I'm going to quickly cover his last 2 points, the 7th and 8th point. The 7th point I don't really want to touch on a whole too lot because I don't really know a whole lot about it, but he talks about the old school RuneScape scene and OSRS, basically how they changed the game based on community feedback and how it kind of split the community. There is concern there that give it a couple years down the road after WoW Classic is out, what does Blizzard want to do with it? If they want to just leave it and keep doing like a season style kind of thing with Diablo, where they every 2 years or every year and a half or something, they create new servers, you got to start all over again, make new characters, blah blah blah. That's cool. I'm fine with that. But if they go ahead and start adding new raids and stuff, that can really cause some issues within the community, I think, and really tarnish what WoW Classic should be, and basically what vanilla used to be. So I do see some validity there with his argument about being concerned if you look at old school RuneScape as basically a case study for what WoW Classic could end up being. And then finally the 8th point, which I think really what the whole video he ended up making was about. I mean, it kind of started off as something about why why he wasn't optimistic anymore for Classic, but kind of ended up turning into basically a tirade of rehashing a lot of the issues that have been addressed over the last couple months. And he's basically saying, if there are changes, I will not play.
If they add a shop, if they add any microtransaction at all, I'm out. The others, everyone else, guys, they will continue to play. Every content creator you're thinking about going in your mind in this video, they're all going to play no matter what, no matter the changes. They will not sacrifice money and success for the good of the game. But me personally, I'm out. I will go to a different game, and honestly, I'm fairly certain it will.
At the end of the day, there is no evidence to support that WoW Classic won't be a pure version of vanilla. There has been no information from Blizzard themselves, no official blue post or anything saying, oh, we are making this change to Classic. Oh, we are going to have a cash shop. Oh, we're going to have recruit a friend where you boost your experience by 10,000% for every time you guys play together. Some ridiculous thing like that. There's no evidence that is going to happen, and I believe there's no evidence that you should lose your optimism in WoW Classic. The only thing right now that should be killing your optimism is that there has been no word from Blizzard, and that basically the hype for it is kind of going down because I think Blizzard announced it a little too early. I, for one, was extremely hyped when it was announced at BlizzCon, and I know a ton of people were, but it kind of really kills the mood when there hasn't been anything said by Blizzard or anyone since then. No official statements other than just basically leaving the community to fend for themselves and create all kinds of drama and confusion and basically anger towards each other between the retail players and the purest vanilla players. It's basically just not a good situation, I think, right now, currently, based on the lack of feedback from Blizzard. And I know there might not be a whole lot that they can say right now. They're working on putting teams together and getting the project rolling and everything, and it sounds like there's a lot of work to do, converting from one engine and using old technology and stuff into modern 2018, 2019, whenever the game is actually released, technology. So, yep, again, that's my video. If you have any additional comments, go ahead and leave them down below. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know your opinion. Are you no longer optimistic towards WoW? If there's any kind of concern, at least, that you have currently towards Classic WoW, let me know below what you think. I think, if anything, the lack of information right now is the most concerning. But the forum posts and people bickering and arguing over, oh my god, should there be updated graphics and stuff, like, that doesn't really deter me from wanting to play Classic WoW. And I don't think it should deter you either. So thanks again for watching, guys. If you liked the video, go ahead and like it and share it with friends. Catch you next time. Thanks.